We can take a seat if you'd like.
How much time do we have?
Just over 20 minutes. On behalf of myself and the staff here at the Sacramento Valley National Cemetery, I'd like to welcome you all here today. It's an honor for us to be able to serve veterans and their families. Following the conclusion of our service, we will take and inter your loved one here among our nation's finest. If you ever need a map, you'll stop at the front administration building and the kiosk will print you out one. And I'll now turn things over to you all for your time today. Thank you.
Thank you. We have asked Dale to give kind of a brief synopsis and some memories of Mom, as well as Aunt Sherry. And then I've asked Josh if he will lead us in family prayer.
Opportunity to go for the big prize. We pulled several hen's teeth to get her to agree to go to the LA show, but because of her fear of traveling large distances in her later years, she got to have the prices right in Orangeville instead, thanks to Justin. And his friend Bob Hilton. We pulled it off anyway. She always wanted to be with her sweetie of almost 68 years, and she pined of not being with him all the time after he passed. Even had a midnight visitor come comfort her regularly, she touted. On occasion, more than once, I'd give her a call and it went something like this. "Hey Mom, how's it going?" Without emotion or hesitation, she'd respond, "Oh, I want to die today." I knew where she was going with this, as I knew she wanted to be with Dad, so I mischievously asked her, "So what about the rest of us?" "Oh yeah, I hadn't thought about that." There are too many stories to tell, but I'll share a few I remember. Dad used to travel out of town for work, and it was on occasion that we felt we were supposed to be more restricted on what we could eat for dinner. You know, the breadwinner's out of town, got to sacrifice for the greater good. But Mom would use this opportunity to make or go out for dinner, something Dad wasn't crazy about. Anybody remember what it was?
Cold cereal.
Well, that and pasta. He didn't like pasta. Okay. So we would all get excited as though we had just formed a new ally in food with Mom. And when Dad would come home, there would be the secret code words, handshakes, several winks, nod, you know, to signify who was friend or foe. So Dad wouldn't find out what happened. Actually, that part I'm just kidding. Well, maybe. Mom was all Idaho. She found it hard to swallow when I told her a couple of years ago that I had lived in Idaho longer than she had. But her roots came in handy when locals in Franklin would try to pull their weight against me, trying to send me and my posterity figuratively back to where I came from. Because of Mom's background, we had a family member there with the Woodward Lyle Nut Expedition when Franklin, Idaho was founded. I can settle the score by asking a simple question to these people that were questioning me. Were your relatives there when they made camp in the spring of 1860 along Cub River? Mine were. It's because of Mom's pioneer background that we get to celebrate our heritage and feel a part of the early history of the church. I had the rare privilege last summer of visiting the site where our ancestor Jude Allen owned property in Nauvoo and where he lived. From that felt a sacred bonding to Mom. Our ancestors and our family. This was a very unique experience. Mom and Dad loved to travel together in their early years after some of us left home, and I felt it. While serving on my mission, I had 3 large transfers, one because of visa issues. I had been sent from Switzerland to Germany. The other 2 were from within the Dusseldorf mission. It was on 2 of the transfers I had in Germany that I'll refer to. On both of these transfers, Mom and Dad were on one of their 2 big vacations. One was to Hawaii, the other was back east to the Hill Cumorah pageant. They must have been really good vacations and having the time of their life, because on both occasions, I didn't receive any mail for 3 weeks. Would you forget your kid, especially when they're out in the mission field, bringing you blessings, wink, wink, nod, nod. Anyway, water under the bridge. Speaking of missions, Mom used to work for over near Aerojet for the Franchise Tax Board, working swing shifts. You guys remember that when she worked franchise? She did that to help pay for her missionaries out in the field. On occasion, I would go up to Mutual up at the Mormon Center in the evening, Tuesdays or Wednesdays or whenever it was, enjoy the activities there, and then walk down to the car parking lot at the Franchise Tax, crawl in, go to sleep, and get a ride home with Mom. It was always fun when you got to do a one-on-one with Mom. When we lived in Franklin, we lived out in an old farmhouse west of town in Franklin. And the house was built up about where the front door was about 4 feet off the ground. We would put the trampoline right next to the front steps so the kids could just jump right onto the mat during the day. I have to preface this piece with the fact that the nights out on the farm could get dark, like scary dark for those of you who've been out there. Like those who have never been out in the country, you get to see these skies that are just incredible. But I loved them because they were my passion. On one night, while Mom and Dad were visiting, all 3, I think it was Julia, Chris, and Nathan, they go bolting out the front door, and it's pitch black out there. And they just run off the front steps onto the trampoline, because they were so used to doing it. And jump in the dark. And I don't think I've ever seen Mom freaked out so much. She's just like ready to jump. I kind of laughed when that happened. Kids did what they came naturally to do, and Grandma almost bought the big farm and had the big MI. My final story is one of these. Wait till your father gets home stories. You'll remember this one. I just happened to be in the 8th grade in Louis Pasteur, or those of you remember Louis Pasteur. And for those of you who knew Mr. Nally, Mr. Zadunich, was Mr. Hayward there when you were the vice principal? Jack Clark? Okay. Anyway, Mr. Hayward was what we refer to as a very mean vice principal. So you might appreciate the story. Because of some illicit activity during PE, no, it wasn't drugs, I pushed a naked student out the side door of PE right in front of the English classes up on the hill, where 2 full-blown classes could see him, and then slammed the door locked right behind me. Of course, I just did what naturally comes to me, and I waltzed out, went down. Of course, this went over really well with the Oberfuhrers in the PE department. And as I had made my way down to the cafeteria to help set up tables for lunch, I got called back to face the executioners. Short side of the long story, I got hauled up in front of the tribunal, and it involved all 3 of these people, Mr. Hayward, Mr. Zadunich, and Mr. Nally. And they threatened me with expulsion, and yeah, they did it. So I'm a little worried. When I got home, I told Mom about it, and her response was something on the order, well, wait till your dad gets home. I had 2 hours to wait, so I went outside in the backyard, down in the lower yard, and just sat there trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to do? And so I had these 2 hours, and then I hid in the lower yard waiting for the firing squad to be set up. The name is Yellows. 2 long hours countdown. You're waiting for Dad to come home. So I hear him come home, hear the door shut. I waited another hour because I didn't have internet service and couldn't figure out how to spell compulsory damages for my last school anyway. So anyway, I sucked it up and walked slowly to the house to find Mom cooking dinner and Dad was taking a nap. Kind of weird, huh? So I asked her, I said, so what happened with that kid? she just sort of, she had this gleeful look in her response, and which confused me even more than my spelling. And then I said, or she said, oh, you laughed about the whole thing when I told her. Whoa! My first Alma the Younger story where my joy was so exquisite. What did I do on my day of expulsion? Do you remember, Kevin? Okay, I'll tell you. I hung out with my brother Kevin for the day, and because you had to go get your shots, and his good buddy Bill be safe, and we went all over Sacramento, all over the place, because Kevin had errands to run. We had a blast. Should have gotten expelled more often. So now Mom sails with her best friend among the stars. I watch for them occasionally. Only to picture them or see them in my mind in a great reunion. Further, I feel the great love they left behind, which is to say to me,
hey Dink, hurry up. We can't wait till you get there. We'll be waiting. Tell everyone we'll see you all soon. Love you, Mom.
You know what act to follow. My story's about 30 seconds long. As you know, I was adopted. Grandma had 3 boys, and for some dumb reason, she wanted a girl, and they picked me. And one of the really funny stories, one of the funniest things that Mom said to me one time when she was really mad at me, she said, I would rather raise 3 more boys than another girl like you. And to me, that just tickled me, because I knew I was like my brothers and I was crazy. Not as. I mean, more than. So one of the funny stories, and you guys will probably be mortified by it, but to me it's funny. I was a crazy teen. I was not like my brothers, who were good little boys and went on their missions and got married in the temple one day. But I had called Grandma the one and only bad word I called her ever in my whole life. And I had a smart mouth, and I was always yelling at Grandma and Grandpa, Mom and Dad. And our neighbors next door were having a garage sale, and at one point Grandpa chased me down the street. Now mind you, I'm 16. He was 54 at the time, and he almost caught me. And I was scared. I had to turn the wheels on because he almost got me. But later on in the house, still with my smart mouth, and we were in the living room, and Grandpa, all 6'4" of him, took me and held me up by my 2 hands and just started hitting on me. He was so mad at me, he was hitting on me. And me, I was out of it, and so all I did is I just screamed. And Grandma was sitting right there next to him screaming, hit her again, Keith! Hit her again, Keith! And it was just...
Give her one for me.
But I needed it, and to this day, it's a crazy fond memory of Mom, because she was never like that, except for that day. 2 things that Mom taught me that to this day that took was never use the Lord's name in vain. And I don't, and for some reason it's stuck. Now I use the F and the S and all those other words in the same, but I do not use the Lord's name in vain. And the other thing she taught me is don't make people wait on you. And I'm obsessed. If I'm in a parking lot and somebody stops, I have to run across the street, because Mom would always say, hurry, 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 don't make them wait. And to this day, I am like that, and it's just stupid, but my kids are like that. And I think that's the one thing I taught them that's stuck. Anyways, that's my story about Mom.
How are we doing on time?
About 10 minutes.
Does anyone else have anything they want to share about Mom? Okay.
Do grandkids remember Grandma talking about the fly wings and the juice she would make? She'd make her special juice with lemonade and orange juice. And she called them pulp fly wings.
Yeah.
So when I was little, I didn't like pulp, and that did not help it at all. A few years ago, I was asking her about that juice recipe. I was like, okay, what was the ratio and everything? And she started laughing. She goes, do you know one of the grandkids would make me strain that every time I poured them a glass? And I'm like, yeah, that was me. I hated it. I didn't want the fly wings. But yeah, every once in a while I make that juice, and yeah, anytime my kids ask me if there's pulp, I'm like, nope, there's no fly wings in it, don't worry. But I think she always thought we favored my Grandma O'Neill, because my grandma always had the best treats. But I loved her just as much. She was my grandma. She was just always there for you. She would play games with you. She'd read the stories, and not only would she read the stories, she would do the voices too. Not too many people do that, and I just love that, and I just continued it on. My dad does it. I remember him reading me stories, and he would do the same, and I've done it for my kids too, and I've heard them do voices too when they read to Ava and other little friends and cousins. She was always there with an ear to listen. I could always count her on for that. And just, I loved her dearly. I still love her. And appreciate the woman that she was, and the strengths that I feel like I may have gotten from her, and the importance of family and where we come from and our heritage. And I look forward to being reunited again with her and Grandpa and others that have passed on.